G'day guys, well just following on from our last video. I actually only just hit upload on the last video, so this is really following on. Just got a parcel. So it's a radiator for the Torana. Looks like they've chucked in possibly, I don't know, maybe a couple of thermo fans or something. Anyway, I only want the radiator, sell the fans off. 9.5 kilos. So anyway, where'd it come from? Worley Auto Parts, Hoppers Crossing, Victoria. Alright, well I suppose the next question is, how many bourbon cans does it take to install a radiator? So, what they didn't mention on this radiator is you have to drill your own mounting holes into it. So I've done the top two, sort of measured it up and got the bolts in there. Bottom ones, since I've got the top reasonably well mounted, I'll start drilling into now. Here's the factory points down the bottom here, which I'm not entirely happy with, so I've gone with, I think they may have been, I don't know, maybe originally for the air conditioning on the inside, but they'll work and they'll mount it nicely. Yeah. I'm going to have some issues with the transmission cooler line, so I have sort of shifted it over somewhat. Not by much, only a couple of millimetres. Well, there's the original top radiator hole there too. Just to get one lined up, and then I can bend and manipulate the other one to line up as well. That's just the factory fan we're going to stick with. So, just finished drilling holes. I think there was a 9.5mm drill bit. Can't remember. It was one I pulled out of the drill bit set that was about the same size as the bolt, a little bit bigger. So I've just got to get a spanner, tighten all 4 bolts down, then work on getting those transmission cooler lines on, which may become redundant yet. So I have got most of a manual conversion for one of those. I just haven't got the gearbox. Got a hydraulic clutch conversion kit. I'm pretty sure these ran cable from the factory. I've got the manual pedal. Pretty sure I've got a cross member. Auto tail shaft's the same. So all I'd have to buy is a gearbox, a clutch and a shifter, which I've got most of the shifter, just haven't got the linkages. So, you know, I'm pretty much halfway there. Anyway, something to think about. Meanwhile, I'll hook them up, because otherwise when I start this up and start moving it around, it'll blow coolant out everywhere. So I'm just packing one of the Apple motherboards it got paid for last night, or the other one did. Same buyer also bought this Plus Hard Card 20. I don't know a lot about them. They're out of a fairly old computer. Can't see a year on it. This is some sort of 1986. So it was some sort of experiment, I guess, that never really took off. I'm guessing maybe 20 megabytes. From what I could find Googling, they had a habit of not working after sitting a lot of time, but I listed it as is, told them it was untested, got sold for $46 plus postage. Obviously the buyer gets a little bit of a discount because I'm combining shipping. Anyhow, I'll finish packing this up and move on. So I've just been out to the shed and grabbed out a random box of bits and pieces. Well, kind of overfilled this box, but anyway. This is all old computer gear. I need to add a few more listings now, so I've only got 14 currently active. A lot of this stuff was working when it was put away. This motherboard here has had a bit of crap spilt on it. And being out in the shed, it was probably some sort of oil-based crap, but nonetheless, it needs to be cleaned thoroughly. The rest of it looks reasonably dry. Whether it all still works or not is another thing. I've got socket 7 Pentium motherboard here, and a stick of memory sitting on top of it. What CPU is fitted? Pentium 1 200 megahertz. AGP video card. I've got nothing to test that in right away, so that can just be cleaned and stored inside. Unknown CPU on a socket 7 motherboard. I vaguely remember years ago fitting this to a PC, and it was sort of hacked in there, because that would have been my work from at least 15 years ago. Something's telling me it's a Pentium 166. What have we got here? A Diamond Multimedia video card, 1 megabyte. And another socket 7 motherboard. I don't recall buying this or seeing this before. Seems to have no CMOS battery. So I might have to look up a manual for it. Because either you've got a watch type battery, the CR2032, or one of those real-time clocks which can be hacked and repaired to work again too, because there's a battery inside those. I'm pretty sure I've done that in another video. This has neither. Looking at it, there could have been an external battery maybe put there, so I'll find a manual for this motherboard. That could still be good. And there's all this random memory, a early ISA network card. Actually, I've got another one of those. Another one there too. Maybe I can keep a pair and set up a network game with some of the old systems I've got. And some random 72-pin RAM. A 486DX2. Oh, let's get some light on it. 66 CPU. A few bent pins. I'll just sell that as scrap. What I'll do is I'll bulk lot whatever's not left over in this box and sell it as parts or scrap. Someone will still probably buy that, straighten the pins out. They'll have themselves a good CPU. It's a Pentium 1 75 megahertz. So you'd put that in a socket 7 or a socket 5 motherboard that supported it. Socket 7, socket 5 are the exact same sockets. Well, they look the same anyway. And I've had them work in one or the other. What's that? A Pentium 3 667 megahertz. It's a Cyrix. That's a socket 7 CPU. M2 300 GP. I'd have to look into that a little bit. A little bit shit in the pins, but looks to say none of them are bent terribly. We'll have to look into that. That's from a socket 370 motherboard too, by the way. I'll see if I've got one. I guess I can test it. Alright, moving on. Testing this first motherboard. No worries. Alright, let's see if we can clear a couple of them. June. Oh, fuck. What day are we up to? Wednesday? I think so. Yeah, it is Wednesday though. Gets a bit confusing times. 11 AM. Good enough. Alright, we're still going to have a floppy drive error. Only reason we got a keyboard error earlier is because there was no keyboard plugged in. Beautiful. Alright. I suppose while we're going, we'll test the other video card I had. So, motherboard 2. That's better. focus, you son of a bitch. So that's the one with a real-time clock on it. It's going to have to be modified, but I'll just sell that tested to post as is. It's right about the 166 megahertz processor though. So for this one, I made up a bit of a homebrew CMOS battery. Basically a old CD drive to sound card cable with a battery holder that holds 2 AAA cells. Cost fuck all to make really, 10 cents off eBay. I think I got like 10 for $1 ages ago with little battery holders. Cable would have been free in an old computer I found at the dump. Batteries, I don't know, a couple of dollars I suppose. Anyway, all seems to be working. Just setting the time now. I'll switch it off for a bit, make sure it saves the settings. This one's tested out perfectly fine. I've just put a new CMOS battery in it, same as others. It's got a Pentium 233 MMX CPU with 128 megabytes of RAM, which the 32 meg modules in 72 pin are a bit of an oddity. Anyway, all seems to work. It does need a bloody good clean. It's dust and shit all over it, so anyway. Here's the one with the real-time clock chip that needed modifying. All finished off. Then put a new CPU fan on it with an actual connector on it this time. I'd already set the time on it. It's beautiful. Fixing this fucked back fence this morning. Bit of metal I had was a bit too short, so just sticking together. Got site manager here. Get on with fucking beautiful for a useless cunt like myself. It's not going to break anyway. Yeah, I suppose I can wire brush it and see how fucking terrible it really is. Go away. It's not fucking awful, but it ain't fucking pretty. That was like describing my ex-missus. But yeah, that was fucking terrible. Backwards fucking town that's stuck in the 60s when you cannot buy a fucking metric drill bit. Fucked. I'm only doing a half-assed job of this because, one, I think they're too miserable to pay half the fence anyway, and two, I'm waiting for that property to come up for sale so I can move the back fence all the way down and then I'll just rent the other house out. Anyway, we'll quickly botch that up and get on with it. Sketchy as fuck. See, this is the sort of shit you're doing so you don't drop the drill over the fence. You have to go and talk to neighbours that threatened you a couple of years ago, and then you told them if you ever spoke to them, if they ever spoke to you again, you're going to fucking have problems. So I'm just avoiding that whole situation by doing it from this side and timing drill up. Got to get that last sheet of tin up though, so I might come out with a chainsaw tonight and knock this branch off over there, knock it off there, and stitch that bit up tomorrow. A little bit of perseverance pays off. The branch is still attached and there's no holes for me dogs to get through. So, like, if there was a page called Crappy Fencing, I think I could fucking star on this. No, we've got crappy electrical, crappy NBN, crappy video and surveillance. Trevor, we should make crappy fencing. Weather was a bit shit today to get out the welder or anything, to do anything on the trailer. So I fiddled around with a couple of old computers, but I've just got this one. It's a very old IBM, what's the model number? On the back. There we go, 5150. It did work a long time ago when I tried it, but we're going back 20 odd years. I did remove the original video card and it's been lost. It's been fitted with a VGA. So I might just take the top off it, have a quick look and power it on. Open the lid. What doesn't belong here? A random PCI network card. Might be used for that later. So what cards have we got? It's got some sort of, oh, we've got the video card there. Looks like it's got a heap of memory chips on it. I don't know a lot about these early IBMs. I've got 2 of them. This is one of them. Says October 1984. And we've got a hard drive here. It's been a flash model. And a 360K 5¼ inch floppy disk drive. Okay. Oh, it looks all dry inside, so I'm going to fire it up as is. That's a start. Oh, she's spinning up. Fucking give it to it. Oh, look at the head motor moving. Oh, careful to get down there. There's the head motor that drives the heads across the hard drive cutters there. When the disc booted up, that did move. I'm not getting a whole lot further than that at the moment. Oh, no keyboard. So we've got this booted into DOS. It's turned out I needed an XT compatible keyboard to go digging to find one. This one's AT XT, you just switch a couple of switches on the back. Anyway. So MS-DOS 3.21. What games there is. My DOS skills are a little bit rusty. Flight Sim, Larry, Slide. Who's Larry? There's an executable. LL. Very interesting. So 21 megabytes, 22 megabytes. I hope this whole thing works. Just going to give the case a quick clean before chucking it back together and putting it away somewhere. Anyhow, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching.